Twain let him get up there and talk, and I don't know what he said. Dad has repeated some of the things, but he's repeated in several different ways, so I'm not going to. But he took everything that they said, he just turned it around, and they just broke up the legislature, and the bill went through. So he was really. I have a letter from Mark Twain that he wrote to Dad. It's not an important letter, just a letter that says that, sorry I can't come over to Kirksville this next week, but I've got my schedule too busy, and that's all it says in the letter, but it's a prize letter. I'm glad to have it. And so these are some of the main things. And as I say, I'm just sort of delving into the history, and some of the enthusiasm that made early osteopathy really go out and spread. And when you think that all the strikes that were against them in the beginning, it's really unbelievable where they are now, and what the potential is for them for the future. If they can just figure out the best is to use it.
I was curious, John F. Kennedy's speech by you know how that happened and anything about that?
I lost part of. I didn't hear part of that because.
I was wondering if you could tell me how John F. Kennedy was treated by D.0. and how that relationship started.
In diabetes?
I think it was just bad. I wasn't sure.
I really don't know some of the specifics of what they were doing. You mean when they were doing specific things or for a specific disease?
Or how did he? What started him to seek an osteopath, and what were the results that they received when he received from the osteopath?
Oh, John Kennedy, I couldn't answer that. I really don't know. I know that I know a little bit about it, but not enough to be accurate on it. So I'd rather not in doubt. You probably ought to know that in the early history of how Grandfather Still started in osteopathy. Most of you know about the headache part, and you know about the croquet ball, how he corrected a rib lesion by leaning back over a croquet ball. And he did a lot of his treating in the post office, you know, to get somebody to get the door jam. And in the early days, you know, he wasn't getting paid for any of this, and he'd see somebody going along, and they went shoulder down, and they were having some trouble, and he'd say, come over here, and sometimes they would, and sometimes they wouldn't. But after he had made some rather dramatic corrections on some people, then they got so they came over, and he did. And before he was getting paid anything for it, he was getting his guinea pigs in the post office. Mostly, he'd catch them as they came in. So that's one way. Then later on, of course, they went out and got paid for their services. But in the beginning, he was a skilled anatomist. He knew what he was doing, and he could see. He could, as some of the my dad wrote some of the older, early osteopath letters, and I have about 15 letters from them telling about their remembrances of Grandfather Still, and they all have interesting little stories about some of the things that he did and how they got so interested in what he was doing. And I have, and some of them are written in longhand, and I'm going to beat my brains out trying to get through some of this stuff. I think I've talked enough tonight, and as I say, I've had about two taping stations this week, so. Mike, do you have anything you want?
I just wanted to say then if it's all right with you, if you could tell us how you...
Why don't they settle around and do something themselves, and then I'll meander around here a while and see what's going on. Maybe a little later on I'll show a little bit what I don't know. They're not too far off there, but we got enough things in the pot to probably But he apparently get a start on this side, so I'd very often go get up and just, because I like to do it the easy way, I like to stretch them up this way, so I just bring them back and
Jeans are pretty thing. Really up a little bit here. He's fairly level down here before he starts doing anything else. You see, he isn't. So. Of course, he's got so much stuff there. I have no idea whether he's off. But I try to level. If you're off the standing tree, I always start here. Next step, and this is, I shouldn't say routine because you'll all get into routines if you're not careful. Get up and down, and before I ever work on the neck, I always get this here. I start around the 7th or so, bring it up, work these to get this muscle here loosened up, and then you'll go to the neck. Where I start. And I'm not going to use any thrust. You can get using a lot of leverage. Stretch out. And what do you think? There we go. Some of the stuff that you're trying to miss is here. But if you listen to this area up and this area, maybe there's gradually more motion needed. Sometimes I'll use a little better. A little more. It's just to me, you're just trying to mobilize the artist, and you can't overemphasize the fact that if you treat him, each time you treat him, you try to think of him as a grand patient. Because if you come in with the idea that he's got an area up in the cervical area that's sort of shimmied up, and that's the only thing, just drawing the next time it's like you've never seen him before. Check to see it's fairly level. Maybe this muscle OSA is stretching one and you do the other. I don't think that's... I can keep next time, but how do you bring up the mid-upper? Not in this case, but this has,
He just fell asleep with his book on.
I just try to go away. Because in the beginning, I think unless you just have one shot at them, once in a while you have to try to do something dramatic. And of course, I'm not trying. I don't wear boots, so I can't use some of them. But still, they're incredible. They lay their head over the boot and figure.
Did you ever put anyone on a heat test or ice on or anything?
Oh, I've done it. A lot of that is done afterwards. Sometimes it depends on how much pain they have. Sometimes if they're real severe pain, I go really down on it.
Feels good.
So it looks like a lot of what you would be doing is re-educating the muscles so that they're not quite as tight, working them out.
That's right. He has a muscle thing right in here. I checked it out. He has right here.
And as you overcome the soft tissues in the muscles, then you can get motion into the articulations. Is that pretty much what you're after?
Yeah. And of course, conditions, depends on the conditions and how much time you have to work with it. You have a little more time to work with it, and it's certainly the best way to do it is to do it slowly. Because we're not in severe pain, and you have a chance to take the sample here and put him up over a period of a couple of weeks. If they spray out there, and probably stay out. Unless he decides to give his head to whereas if you go in there and force it, without bringing up the soft tissue first. So soft tissue is very important. Of course, I think I'm sure you talk to them about soft tissues in cases, things like diarrhea and things like that, where you feel for specific tensions in that abdominal area, because sometimes you can stop the diarrhea that way, very simply, just by feeling where the tension is and getting in there, sort of like getting a hose kinked up a little bit. You can sort of unkink them a little bit. You can just feel it underneath. That was about the best on that as anybody ever saw it. When diarrhea is going full blast and turn it off.
They work on pediatrics as well.
Sure it was. Thank you very much. Sure. Funding program if they work well. But certainly they'll do just go on for anything. I really do push exercise on all my patients before, and the ones that can't do anything more than walk, still got that. And I wasn't fooling about the business, just getting that chest mobilized, because you're going to have older people from now on, and the ones that sit there and watch TV, the whole chest is going to lose its mobility. And no wonder they're going to have coronaries and tendency towards a variety of different chest conditions. And of course, the other thing is, if you get them convinced to do something about it, like walking and exercise, you're just augmenting what you're doing. Either that or the weekend athletes. Just to keep balance. No, I'm very great with it. And the other thing on a hypervocal junction, you get sometimes and then if you get to this upper area in the flat spot, you're dividing up some of that, sort of dividing up some of your weight down there, and you know that you're not well. So a lot of times when you have one area hypervocal, you've got other areas with clusters, and then you divide the load up a little bit. Just